All hands on deck. Oh, I've been telling everybody, keep me posted on the typhoon. Fukushima, the sun be coming up very soon there. From what I understand, I'm getting emails all over. They're getting hammered right now. And let's talk about this. Number 4, yeah, that's a major concern, but not much bigger than that. As big. You know how much water is rushing down the mountains going across? Yeah, they think they had groundwater problems before. Now, as you as anti-nuclears advocates, as we all know, this is nothing new. But I'm telling you right here, right now, this story, it's ironic. We had the Fukushima awareness contest yesterday all over the world. There's a lot of great ones. It's ironic. You want to talk awareness? This story is going to go crazy this week. This is the thing that's going to pay, because the water that's going to rush down there is going to inundate them, and there's monitors finally over there. This story is going to bust loose so hardcore.
Japan's Science and Technology Policy Minister is getting ready to brief the UN's nuclear watchdog on the situation at the damaged Fukushima Daiichi plant. Workers have been trying to stop the radioactive water that's building up at the facility from leaking into the environment.
The latest result from Fukushima is the nuclear power plant suffered a 100% liquefaction. The core completely liquefied. There's nothing left. There's no hulk. There's no remaining collapsed core. The core completely liquefied.
Ichita Yamamoto is going to attend the annual session of the International Atomic Energy Agency General Conference. The gathering opens on Monday in Vienna. The minister is expected to explain that Japanese leaders see the radioactive water problem as the most urgent challenge at Fukushima Daiichi. He is expected to say that the tainted water is affecting 0.3 square kilometers of seawater inside the plant's port.
As we believe these men to be manipulative and extremely dangerous. Luckily, they are also very disorganized, and there is a chance they may never be able to ever take any action at all.
He is expected to say that the tainted water is affecting 0.3 square kilometers of seawater inside the plant's port. But he'll likely point out that no significant levels of radiation are being detected in waters outside the port.
One day some twisted son of a bitch is bound to teach you a thing or two about living in this cold, God-forsaken world.
But he'll likely point out that no significant levels of radiation are being detected in waters outside the port. Yamamoto is planning to note that engineers have been facing unprecedented challenges in their efforts to deal with contaminated water and decommission the crippled reactors.
We imagine that in the infinite universes parallel to this one, you are still staring dumbfounded at this video.
We'd like to interrupt this freaking programming in your holiday weekend for the biggest breaking news, the whole Fukushima thesis. This is it. This is it. I cannot believe it took me this long to dig it out. All the activists, I just showed you how Google and the IAEA is using a machine and throwing false information, paying out and posturing the machine. This is the most massive news, even bigger than when Fukushima happened. Here it is, and all I can say to Greenpeace, you scumbags. All I can say to the microbiology, you scum. As here's this test, 1,300 miles out, full of season, and they kept it cover up this whole time, and finally a whistleblower has leaked it out. Here it is. This is the most massive, powerful freaking nightmare. Is everything I've been saying. The greatest conspiracy in human history is, listen, I met a guy that I grew up with that I have friends with I haven't seen in decades. He says, Kevin, I live in Alaska. I'm in the fishing industry. And I didn't freaking, he says, we had a long talk. He says to me, he's been doing this for 20, he works for the biggest freaking Alaska fishery up in the world. He says, when the northern cod come in last year on the northern cod kish, he says they had little red burns all over them. And so I says, well, you obviously, he says, oh, no, I've been doing this for 20 years. He says, I know what a parasite is. I know what freaking the scars off the machines are on the nets. He says, no, these were burns. And this is a guy that has so much integrity that I know, and I grew up with him. I mean, one of the most brilliant people I ever knew in my entire life. One of the most honest people I ever knew in my entire life. I take this, gild it in gold, cast it in concrete. As this study that comes out, this is the biggest news in your lifetime. This is thousands of times the GMO. This is thousands of times the Wall Street scam. One isotope, one single isotope will give you cancer. As I'm full of AML leukemia fighting for my life, as my gene was mutated via my father's, as it comes years later. I'm telling you, stay tuned, stay tuned. This is massive, gigantic news, because it's where the wind blows, it's where the water flows, and all you people that don't understand my thesis and how I go and what I'm doing, this is about information into the conscious, through the ear, so it can come out the mouth.
You know, if you take Chernobyl out of the equation, Fukushima, we got a pretty good track record on it.
You're so in denial. One single isotope can kill you. As cancer freaking rates are off the fucking hook, they're going exponential post-Fukushima. Oregon, you took a major freaking hit. Look at these new maps. This is the biggest story of Fukushima right here, right now, and it shows you how hard we have to work to even dig it out. To the whistleblower who finally released this, oh, you are the biggest humanitarian maybe in the last 50 years. Stay untuned.
Problem, as you know, keep constructing the tanks, that's a limited solution. So we need to stop at first the groundwater systems. So maybe we can do that. But the another problem is we will have highly contaminated soil systems after stopping the groundwater, and that will be the next problem. And the Fukushima nuclear plant accident will give us the series of the problems of the radioactive waste. And for instance, if we can successfully clean up the contaminated water, we will have highly contaminated ion exchange resin, or the sludge, or the filters, of those kind of things. So series of the contaminated nuclear waste is a problem, will be the problem.
What is the solution? Because you told me in the pre-interview we really don't know the full situation there. Is there a logical solution? I know the former special advisor to the 3 Mile Island nuclear disaster in Pennsylvania in the late 1970s has advised pipe it out into the ocean, this excess water. Is that a viable solution, and what ecological damage would that cause?
My understanding, I'm a kind of expert of that safety assessment or environmental impact assessment of the nuclear waste, and from my viewpoint, scientifically or biologically, that will not be a big serious problem. But the problem is the social psychological problem. So many people will feel the very anxiety or the uneasy about this situation. So, for instance, a slight contamination of the seafood may, if it is found in the near future, there may be the very big panic of the market
and neighboring countries.
Maybe so, but in fact, the contamination itself will not be so serious. The problem is a social psychological problem. So rumor or the reputation damage or those kind of things.
What is the long-term viability of nuclear power in Japan as lawmakers discuss possibly breaking up the monopolies, the 10 regional monopolies that have been operating the power systems? What is the likelihood that nuclear power will continue in Japan? And a second part of this question is, with China's ambitious build-out plans of nuclear power, what lessons should they be learning?
Yeah, if we look back at the human history of the nuclear development, the almost all accidents were caused by the human error. We need to put the emphasis on the not only technological safety, but also organizational and institutional cultural safety. This is very important. We should reform the nuclear industry and the nuclear regulation systems totally. That is only one solution to, if we hope to keep the development utilization of the nuclear power. That is inevitable. And the same thing I would like to advise Chinese government. They should put much more emphasis on not only the technological safety, but also, again, organizational, institutional, cultural safety, how to train people to cope with the risk management or the nuclear waste management, and how to create the safety culture. This is very crucial.
Did Tepco not have that?
I'm so sorry to say you are right. That Tepco has been losing their safety culture. That is the ultimate reason why we had such a serious problem, Fukushima nuclear power plant accident. That's my understanding.
What is the future of nuclear power in Japan as they debate that?
Yeah, it depends on the how large proportion of the energy use of the, for instance, renewable energy. So how successfully we can realize that. So it depends on that. And also we should ask nation, people, should we go forward with nuclear or not? So this is a very important moment we will have. But before that, again, we should rebuild the trust from the people to government. Without creating or rebuild that, we can know nowhere we can go. So that is my understanding.
Is Japan right now, the way it is managed, the nuclear power plants, are they able to cope with the potential of a second disaster if the leaks widen and the radiation rises? Are we prepared?
Yes, so we should prepare, and but because so this is not the only one single issue. So series of the problem we will face. So beginning with this contaminated water. Next one is the highly contaminated ion exchange resigns or those kind of things. The third one is the decontamination soil. This is another problem. And finally, we will face the high-level nuclear waste and the spent fuel problem. We should isolate those kind of things more than 100,000 years from the human environment. This is a very important and a very serious problem for all countries who are promoting the nuclear power plant.
Including here in China. Hiroshi,
of course.
Thank you.
Workers at a utility company in Japan are preparing to power down the only nuclear reactor that is generating energy in the country. The unit is due for regular inspections. By Monday, all 50 commercial reactors in Japan will be offline for the first time in about 14 months. Kansai Electric Power Company workers will soon begin lowering the output of a reactor at the OE plant on the Sea of Japan coast. The unit will stop generating electricity later Sunday night, and it will come to a halt early Monday. Utilities in Japan have asked the Nuclear Regulation Authority for approval to restart 12 reactors at 6 plants. The regulators began safety assessments in July. They say the process should take about 6 months depending on the situation. The approval of local municipalities is also required before reactors can be restarted. So at this point, there is no date for when any of the reactors will be back online.
All hands on deck. Oh, I've been telling everybody, keep me posted on the typhoon. Fukushima, the sun be coming up very soon there. From what I understand, I'm getting emails all over. They're getting hammered right now. And let's talk about this. Number 4, yeah, that's a major concern, but not much bigger now, as big. You know how much water is rushing down the mountains going across? Yeah, they think they had groundwater problems before. Now, as you as anti-nuclears advocates, as we all know, this is nothing new. But I'm telling you right here, right now, this story, it's ironic we had the Fukushima awareness contest yesterday.
The core completely liquefied. There's nothing left. There's no hulk. There's no remaining collapsed core. The core completely liquefied.
Ichita Yamamoto is going to attend the annual session of the International Atomic Energy Agency General Conference. The gathering opened
all over the world. There's a lot of great ones. It's ironic. You want to talk awareness? This story is going to go crazy this week. This is the thing that's going to pay, because the water that's going to rush down there, it's going to inundate them, and there's monitors finally over there. This story is going to bust loose so hardcore.
Japan's Science and Technology Policy Minister is getting ready to brief the UN's nuclear watchdog on the situation at the damaged Fukushima Daiichi plant. Workers have been trying to stop the radioactive water that's building up at the facility from leaking into the environment.
The latest result from Fukushima is the nuclear power plant suffered a 100% liquefaction.